What's up guys, Readiness Reviews here with you again, and I just returned from the last gun show that I will be attending this year. In this video, we will be talking about my experiences from that gun show and checking out the latest acquisition for the collection. Before we get started, I want to ask you guys to please hit that thumbs up button to help this video out with that algorithm, and to subscribe to the channel to catch all of my future military surplus firearms content. Also, drop me a comment letting me know some videos that you would like to see me make in the coming year. So as I've stated before, I am a Georgia resident. This gun show was hosted by R&K, who just so happened to put on the biggest shows in my immediate area. This one particular show at the Atlanta Expo Center comes around about quarterly, and I always do my best to make the trip up there. Surprisingly, I was very happy with the selection of military surplus firearms at the show today. There was a very nice variety of interesting things from all over the world. Condition was pretty questionable on quite a few of the offerings, and I witnessed a couple atrocities of Bubba, like this refinished and chrome accented Mosin Nagant that I talked about in the video short from last week. Just from eye candy alone, I do consider today's show worth the $15 entry fee if all you want to do is just walk around and check out some cool guns. One table that I happened to punt in the show was being headed up by two older gentlemen, one of which informed me that he previously ran a traveling firearms museum, and that unfortunately, due to health reasons, he was liquidating his collection. He informed me that before I made it to his booth that he'd already sold 6 firearms that morning, and even more than that the day before. He was pretty picked over by the time I made it to his booth, but he still had some interesting items. It appeared to be mostly World War I and World War II bolt-action firearms. From what he had left, there were 2 firearms that caught my eye though, one of which was a German K98 Mauser from World War I, chambered in 8mm of course, and it was in pretty good condition. He was asking $750 for it. It was a non-numbers matching rifle, as you would expect from most any K98 you'll run into. It did have the correct Longovisier sight, and it would have been a really nice one to add to my collection, but a little bit more than what I was willing to pay for a non-matching rifle in the kind of condition it was in. The other rifle, though, was the one I have sitting here in my lap, and as you can see, it came home with me. This is an absolutely gorgeous example of a French MLE 1907-15 Berthier Long Rifle. This is, of course, a 5-shot Berthier as opposed to the older 3-shot Berthier, and man, does this thing look nice. The stock is in excellent condition with some minor dents and dings. The blued finish is pretty fantastic. I was delighted to see that it came with the original correct sling, and the bore on this rifle is in stellar condition, and I completely expect it to be a fantastic shooter. I have an ever-growing French firearms collection, and at this point I've been hunting for a Berthier Long Rifle to add to the collection for a couple of years. I spent a little bit more money on this than I would have liked, but in the long run I do think it will be worth it for such a nice condition rifle. You're gonna pay extra for that kind of thing. They were asking $775 for the rifle, and right away there was no chance I was going to pay that much for it. I'd already given the rifle a once over, checked it for any major flaws that I could bring up in negotiation. I witnessed that the bore was really good, and I really didn't have anything to complain about on the rifle besides the serial numbers being mismatched. I don't think there are 2 alike serial numbers on this rifle. So I went straight for my lowest offer and asked the fellow if he would take $650 for it. Now that is $125 lower than what they are asking on the sticker, and every now and then you'll get someone at a gun show to come off $100, but very rarely more than that, and usually it's more like $50 they'll come off. He very promptly refused, but came back with a rebuttal that he also had a bayonet to go along with the rifle, and he would bundle that with the rifle. That is, of course, this French Lebel Cruciform Rosalie bayonet. This one has an aluminum handle. They come in brass varieties as well, and this particular bayonet fits both the Berthier Long Rifle and Lebel Long Rifle, and were pretty famous in the First World War. Once attached to the Berthier, it makes this rifle ridiculously long, coming in at around 6 feet, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that is a good bit taller than the average soldier in the First World War. Now, a Lebel bayonet certainly adds some value to the package, but this bayonet has one major flaw, and that is that it is missing the scabbard. A complete, good condition Lebel bayonet with a scabbard is worth between about $140 and $160 these days, usually. I know because I was shopping for one for my Lebel for like a year. So he told me that he would take $800 for both the bayonet and the rifle, essentially getting the bayonet for $25 if I was taking the rifle at full asking price. That still wasn't big enough of a discount for me, so we continued negotiations. I made it very clear to the guy that I did not consider this bayonet to be worth $140 due to the lack of the scabbard, and I offered him $700 for the combo, considering Berthier rifles on Royal Tiger imports are coming in at $650 currently, and we know that those are in less than good condition. Getting this rifle and the accompanying bayonet for $700, not forgetting that this one also has the correct sling, which is about $100 value by itself, was sounding like a pretty decent deal to me. But he turned me down once more. He came back saying that he needed at least $750 for it because he thought that the value of the bayonet really warranted that number. And I was ready to turn around and walk away, call it a day, go find something else to spend my money on. And to my surprise, the guy caved, accepted the $700 offer, and here I am, back at home, with an MLE 1907-15 5-shot Berthier with sling and bayonet in hand. You guys can let me know down in the comments whether you think I grossly overpaid for this rifle or not, or whether you think a really great condition Berthier with those add-ons is worth $7. As I stated before, this is a 5-shot Berthier, which for me was actually preferred because I do have a 5-shot Berthier clip to accompany the carbine that I bought a couple years ago. These Berthiers are Mannlicher style clip loading rifles, just like your Carcanos and Mannlicher straight pull rifles. The whole 5-shot clip fits down into the receiver, and when all your rounds are spent, that empty clip falls out of the bottom here if the door's open, or is forced out when you put another clip in behind it. I've actually not looked at the date of manufacture for this rifle yet, so let's go ahead and check that out here on cam. To do so on a Berthier, it's very easy. We have a little spring retention for your barrel band here. Just push that down, pull the barrel band over top, and then once that has cleared your handguard, lift your rear sight, push your handguard forward, and then lift it up, twist to clear the rear sight, and our barrel is completely exposed. On the barrel of a Berthier, you will find the serial number and where that barrel was manufactured along with the manufacturer date. This is an MAS manufactured barrel, which is manufactured to arms at Saint-Étienne, and our date here is 1916, making this a World War I production rifle, something I'm very happy to see. The receiver on this rifle is also Saint-Étienne. There are no visible import markings on this rifle, meaning either it was brought over to the US before those import marks were made law, or it was a bringback from the war. Either way, I'm glad it's not defaced with import markings. Now, I've already told you guys that the bore on this rifle looks really, really nice. It's quite bright, very well-defined rifling, and I do expect it to be a good shooter. Let's give it the old bullet muzzle test, though, to see what that's looking like. And that's about as far as it will go. There is a good little band of copper sticking up, meaning that this bore looks fairly tight. Man, I cannot wait to get this one out to the range and put it on paper. I think it's going to be my best shooting rifle chambered in 8mm Lebel at this point. So now that we know what I brought home from that gun show, let's talk about the rest of that gun show and the firearms market in general here for a minute. There were a lot of military surplus firearms, but prices are still outrageous. Even with the overall economy making a little bit of a downturn, it looks like that we're slipping into a recession. I think that is probably going to worsen going into 2023. Those types of things that cause widespread market downturn generally trickles down to collector items as well, causing values and prices on things like World War I rifles to drop. Now, long term, we know the value on something like this will stay relatively high due to the law of supply and demand. No more rifles like this are being produced, and so as time goes along, they will go up in value. Even with values increasing, I do think the market is still a little bit overinflated at this point. Seeing Mass 36 rifles for $950 literally made my jaw drop. I also witnessed such insane asking prices like $899 for an M9130 Mosin Nagant that had been refinished. It was very clearly one of those rifles that would have been $100 10 years ago. They were asking $900 for it. Now, that was not the norm at the show. That was the exception. The average asking price for an M9130 at this particular show was like $450. And in my opinion, $300 to $400 is about what a 9130 should be going for in today's market. But I don't really understand why certain people selling surplus firearms are acting like what they have is pure gold when clearly it is not. It's a really tough time to be a Milsurp collector money-wise. If you are one of these old guys and you're selling off your old collection, I'm sure it feels great knowing that you have 3x'd 4x, in some cases even 10x or more your initial investment on your firearms. But if you're trying to build a collection, it is the toughest time ever to get into the hobby. And I feel really bad for young guys just turning 18 or 20 and have an interest in military firearms and getting their foot in the door and collecting. It's definitely not the time for that. If we do enter a serious economic downturn and have a prolonged period of recession, that may be a good opportunity to deploy some capital and start investing in surplus firearms should the prices on those decline along with the greater economy. But all those things are yet to be seen, and with pending gun control legislation being pushed, the firearms market is completely up in the air at this point. Say if there was some sweeping assault weapons ban that came into effect before the end of the current presidency, it would not only cause all of your modern firearms to go up in price, but people would be gouging on these old guns too, just the same. At every point in the past that we've seen widespread inflation of the greater firearms market, Milsurp prices have gone up right in line. I do believe that military surplus firearms are an overall good investment. I know that I do not regret making a single purchase that I've made to this point. Every surplus firearm I've ever bought is worth more now than what I paid for it originally. Maybe with the exception of a couple of those absolute garbage rods that I've bought for restoration purposes. And I really don't see that trend stopping in my lifetime as long as firearms are still legal to own here in the US of A. Gun shows aren't quite the awesome place for deals that they used to be, but even in today's age, they still play a role. There's basically no way that I would have secured a firearm in the kind of condition I did for the kind of money that I did pretty much anywhere else. Perhaps I could have got lucky on an online auction or something, but it's a lot easier to walk around a gun show and haggle face to face with the person trying to sell the firearm than it is staying up all night worried about some auction. Milsurp collecting used to be super easy. You could just go out, buy anything you wanted for $100 or $200, fill the whole safe up, and have an example of every major firearm that you could wish. Nowadays, the game's a little bit different. You have to be patient, do a lot of research and a lot of searching, and you can track down what you're looking for eventually, just like I did with this Berthier. This will be the last video of 2022. I want to say a huge thank you to you guys for a fantastic 2022. The channel has seen exponential growth this year, and I'm very happy about that. We are finally closing in on 10,000 subscribers, and the bigger the channel gets, the more plans I have for the channel. I absolutely love surplus firearms, and I love sharing them with you guys. Let me know what you thought about the video down in the comments, and more importantly, what you think about my newest acquisition. Let me know what firearms you're going to be hunting in 2023, and I want to wish everyone a safe and happy new year. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up to help it out with that algorithm, and sub to the channel to catch all of my future Milsurp firearms content. I will catch you guys in the next video. See you then. Peace.